Oh my god, the season finale of Doctor Who is going to be fucking amazing. Like, I can't wait for it. It looks amazing, and it looks fantastic. I can't wait. Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for Doctor Who Series 8, Episode 11. This was part 1 of the finale, Dark Water. And holy shit, guys, this episode was absolutely fantastic. And this episode did something I wanted from the series all the whole entire series, definitely. Something I wanted all season long, all series long, whatever you call it, which is basically a recurring storyline. A recurring storyline and a very good story that holds a lot of water to it, that puts the characters at risk, that makes us can't wait for the next episode, and that's what this episode did. It made me so invested into the story, it made me so into the characters, and I love this episode, thought it was absolutely fantastic, and there was nothing I didn't like in this episode. We found out so much in this episode, and we found out who Missy really is. I mean, we got a really cool cliffhanger. We got probably one of the best cliffhangers. Definitely, there haven't been any cliffhangers this season, so, well, there have been with Clara, little things like that, but the best cliffhanger this season by far the best episode of the season, and I can't wait for the season finale. It's gonna be amazing. So, let's just get to it. So basically, Danny's in the park, and Clara calls him and tells him to shut up and listen. She looks at her bookshelf, which has post-it notes of her recent life, and that post-it note says, just tell him. I personally think that she was going to call him to possibly break up with him. I personally feel like she was, just because the way she was doing things, she says she loves him, and she's never going to say those words to anyone else again. I personally thought she was going to. However, there's silence on the phone, and she's like, Danny, where are you? And she asks for a response, and after a moment, there's this woman who asks if someone's on the line. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So she asks to talk to Danny, and the woman says that he was crossing the road and got hit by a car, and Clara's obviously shocked by this. She runs to the street, and Clara visits the shrine at the spot where Danny died. She goes home and tries to call the doctor, but gets no answer. And it's so crazy what's going on right now. And basically, Danny died. Danny is dead. I was like shocked when this happened, definitely. I was shocked when Danny died. I was not expecting that to happen because we're only like 2 minutes into the episode and Danny has died. Now, how do I feel they handled it? I thought they handled it really well because here's the thing. Danny was a character who I know a lot of people did not really like, and for them to do that really shows that they're not fucking around in this episode. It really showed that right away. And for them to do that really shows, it's great with Clara's storyline. It goes perfect with it. And I think it was just such an amazing twist. I love that twist. And I'm like, oh my god, they actually had the balls to kill off Danny in the first, 2 minutes. It was amazing the way they did that, and I love that. So Clara then visits the shrine at the spot where Danny died, and she goes home and tries to call the doctor, but she's not getting any answer, and her grandmother asks if she's alright, realizing that she isn't, and tells her that she should cry and let go, and Clara says that Danny was ordinary and boring, and says that she is owed. So I was like, what? Like, she's upset that he's boring? And I can kind of see why she's saying that. Clara has such, an exciting life, and has just done so much with a doctor, gone so many places, but Danny really is boring. Like, that part of her relationship is boring, and I think that's why she can't turn away from the doctor, and I think Clara's starting to realize that she can't turn away from the doctor because her life with Danny is simply not interesting. That's just what's going on there. So, basically, she says that she's owed, and the doctor then answers and asks what he can do for her. And the doctor wakes up next to the TARDIS on a volcanic planet, and Clara's there and her hand is glowing. And I was like, okay, this is weird. So Clara enters the TARDIS, tells the doctor that they're going away. She's asked to see an active volcano, casually picks up a key from the box and pockets it. And Clara tells the doctor it's on his neck. And he asks for Clara asks for a sleep patch and walks around, taking 6 other keys from where they're hidden. The doctor says that she can't have one, as he wonders why she wants to see a volcano. Clara touches a sleep patch next to his neck, and she basically sedates him. And next, the doctor wakes up as Clara confronts him, and I thought that Jenna Coleman in this scene was just amazing. Clara basically has reached her lowest point here. Pretty much has reached her lowest point, because think about it. She was going to leave the doctor. She was planning on leaving the doctor and going with Danny. That's what her whole plan was, and now that's basically ruined because she can't do that because Danny's dead, obviously. So obviously because of that, she can't do that, and obviously she's really pissed right now. So she goes full on with this. This was just such an amazing scene, and basically, she explained that she wanted to see lava because it's capable of destroying a TARDIS key, and she tosses one key into the lava, asks if she has the Doctor's attention, and tells him that Danny's dead. She tells him straight out that he's dead, and she tells him to bring Danny back. She wants him to try to resurrect Danny, but the Doctor's saying no, because here's the thing. Danny can't be brought back. And the thing I'm thinking about this episode is that the Doctor is actually the rational one this episode. Usually the Doctor is like the madman here, while Clara is the rational one. But in this, Clara was the rational one, and the Doctor wasn't. So I thought that was really cool the way they did this. And the Doctor definitely had stuff to do in this episode, but this was definitely more of a Clara episode than it was a Doctor episode, which I definitely really liked. So she tosses another key into lava, warns him that she'll continue doing it, but the Doctor points out that it would create a paradox loop, and he tells her to throw away the keys because there's nothing that he can do. She throws all the keys in but one, and the Doctor still refuses, believing she won't do it, and she throws the last key in. So she's falling to her knees, and, you know, she's devastated, obviously. So she's asking the Doctor, knows what she's done. He tells her to look at her hands, and she sees the sleep disc on her palm, and the Doctor says that it wouldn't work on him, and that they just induce a dream state. You know, it's actually just a dream state. It's not actually happening. And Clara realizes that she's actually in the TARDIS, and the entire thing has been a hallucination. She was just hallucinating this. So, in my opinion, I think that's trying to show is that's what Clara would have wanted to do to the Doctor. That's the kind of rage that she feels right now. That's how enraged she is at the Doctor, because she's really pissed at the Doctor. We know that she's pissed at the Doctor. We know that she's upset at the Doctor. We know that she's not in a very good place with the Doctor right now. So I'm pretty sure in terms of, like, what that was trying to show, was that's what she wanted to do to the Doctor. That's just what was going on there. And I thought that was actually very well done, in my opinion. I really enjoyed the way that was handled, and I thought that was amazing. So, basically, she starts to walk out, and, but the Doctor explains that he means it literally. He's going to find Danny wherever he is, and when she wonders why he would help her after she betrayed him, which she did, basically, the Doctor assures her that he cares for her enough, basically he cares about her enough that betraying him doesn't make a difference. That's how much he cares about her, because she's his companion. She's the one that tells him what to do. She helps him along the way. She completed a mission for him. So obviously he's got still excuse me. Obviously he's gonna still trust her. I mean, it makes sense, definitely, because she completed a mission for him. I mean, that doesn't surprise me that he said that. So Clara's starting to cry, and the Doctor tells her to stop worrying because they have work to do. He warns her that's the darkest day and the time to see what they're made of. So, the Doctor disconnects the navigational system, says Clara insert her hands into the TARDIS telepathic connections, explaining that her time stream and Danny's are actually intertwined. And he tells her to focus on one thing, and the question is, where is Danny now? And after a moment, the TARDIS departs. So then we see where Danny has ended up. He wakes up at a desk has a nameplate, Seb, and after a moment, we meet this guy, Seb. Seb is a great character. I love his character. He's very funny. And he's also very evil, very sadistic, and I love his character, definitely. He's added a lot to the show, and I really like this dynamic between Danny and Seb. I'm really looking forward to seeing this in the next episode as well. So he calls in and comes for coffee. Danny asks where he is, and Seb says that they've been trying to contact family members for days, and after a moment, Danny works out that he's dead. You know, he figures that out right away. At first, he doesn't believe these, which I thought was interesting, actually, that Danny didn't realize he's dead. It kind of makes me, think about something. Because this is the afterlife, we don't actually know that we're dead when we die. I think that's very interesting. So he gives him some paperwork to fill out and figures that he's a burner, and Danny demands to know where he is. He yanks open the curtain, and he looks out at this very vast city, taking up the inside of a giant spear, and Seb welcomes him to the Nether Sphere, where people go when they die. That's basically where they go in this world, is the Nether Sphere. So the TARDIS lands, and I thought that was really interesting there. I really loved that. That was amazing. So the TARDIS lands, and the Doctor explains that they're at the point where Clara's timeline is most likely to intersect with Danny's. And he tells Clara to give him some attitude rather than more mopiness, and they go out into a large dark hallway. They realize that they're in a mausoleum, and that it has water-filled tanks. Nearby is a stone that says, "Rest in peace, we promise." And the Doctor and Clara examine one of the tanks and find a seated skeleton. the other tanks hold skeletons as well, and the doctor realizes that they were placed after death, and Clara's hoping that Danny isn't there, and the doctor wonders why someone would go to so much trouble to watch the dead. So as they move on, one of the skeletons behind them turns its head, and the doctor finds a holographic book and opens a file identifying the company in charge as 3W. So 3W is our main villain in this episode, and we meet this spokeswoman who explains that ever since 3W discovered the truth about the death experience, they've been working so hard to find a better life for the deceased. And then we see Missy, who of course we've seen in many episodes. We've seen her not that much though. This was the first episode where she had a lot of screen time. You know, the past episodes she's been in like a scene. You know, last week she had a scene. And, we actually find out a lot more about Missy and about 3W, and basically she steps out, she asks how she can assist the doctor with his death, and the doctor explains that they're browsing and asks what 3W is. I love that she's just, like, casually hanging this as, how can I help you with your death? It's just like, if you're in a store, and it's like you need help with something, and they're like, how can I help you? That's how they're dealing with it. I thought that was really funny, actually. There were some really funny moments in this episode, definitely. Peter Capaldi was funny in this episode, which I personally really liked. So Missy realizes that he hasn't received the official welcoming package, and basically she pushes him against the wall and basically makes out with him, which was really funny. And that's basically the way you greet people in 3W. And Clara hastily declines, you know, she's about to kiss her, but Clara's like, no, thank you. So I thought that was really funny. So Missy offers her the same welcoming package, and Missy explains that she's the mobile intelligence systems interface, who is a welcome droid. And basically we find out that, you know, that's who she is. And the doctor tells her to adjust her intimacy settings and asks to speak to whoever's in charge. And Missy says that she's in charge of herself and programmed for self-repair. And she puts her hand to her chest and says that her heart is functioning and is maintained by Dr. Chang. So I'm like, who's Dr. Chang? So Dr. Chang comes out and asks if there's a dead person they want to talk to. And Clara says there definitely is. So once again, this is basically, they're working this like a store, basically. And the doctor leads them off, and Missy, staying behind, smiles at the skeletons, turns to watch them go, and a large metallic spear is hovering nearby. So Seb escorts Danny out onto a balcony and asks where he can get better Wi-Fi, because, you know, he wants to get Wi-Fi, basically. And Danny doesn't believe it's real. And Seb explains that there isn't an afterlife as much more life than Danny was expecting, and he knows that Danny was a soldier. He knows this. So he asks if he has any regrets, because, you know, he wants to know if he has any regrets over this. And Danny's wondering why it's any of Seb's business. And I thought this was a very good scene. He suddenly relives the memories of his fighting overseas. And this really was great because if you remember in the first episode we met Danny, he was a very melancholy character. He was not happy. He was kind of crying about something. And he definitely seemed like there was something going on with him. And definitely something he was hiding. And we actually find out what that is in this episode, which I thought was really interesting. I actually forgot about this. And the only reason I know this is because, again, I did not see the beginning of the season, but I know this happened because I was watching the beginning of the season. I just didn't review for you guys because of Outlander. And basically, I thought this was definitely very interesting. So basically, Seb explains that someone has placed a priority required to meet Danny, and they've arranged to meet up, and the boy that Danny killed during an urban raid comes out. We basically find out that Danny killed an innocent boy, and he meets up with this boy, and you know right away that this is going to be very awkward, definitely. So then Shane takes the doctor and Clara to his office and says that he'll need to take some readings. He explains that the skeletons remain together because they're in a support exoskeleton that is invisible in the water. So Missy's listening, chuckles, and puts her hand to the glass, and the skeleton inside returns the gesture. And in the office, Shane's explaining that they'll call the liquid dark water, which is why this episode was called Dark Water. And he inserts his hand, and the sleeve disappears. And Clara tells him that the only organic material can see through it. And Clara asks what 3W means, and Shane figures that she already knows since they wouldn't have let her and the doctor in unless they were on business, and the doctor presents his psychic paper, and Shane believes that they're government inspectors. That's what he thinks. And when the doctor repeats Clara's question, Shane says that it stands for the three words. He warns them but he warns them, though, that when people have had a recent loss, hear the words, they freak out. So, of course, you know, Clara, you know, just lost Danny, so obviously the doctor's concerned, and the doctor's like, okay, but then Clara's like, you know what, if you say that again, I'm gonna rip something off of you. I thought that was really interesting. So Clara says, you know, that it's fine with it, and Shane tells them that people would be more disturbed if they knew what the afterlife was really like. And the thing is, Danny's in the afterlife right now. It doesn't seem that bad. It just seems like some sort of, like, job, basically. It seems like you're just in an office, and it doesn't even seem that bad. So definitely there is something that Seb is hiding. I definitely feel like Seb is hiding something. There's something about the afterlife that's not, what we're seeing, and I think it definitely is very interesting, and really opens up a lot of questions. So Danny sits down with the boy and apologizes, and when he reaches the boy's hand, the boy hastily yanks it away and then runs out. So Danny's wondering why the boy wanted to see him, and he hears a man scream, and Seb dismisses it as nothing and explains that it's time to explain why it's so cold. And I thought that was really interesting. So Shane tells the doctor and Clara that their founder played broadcast white noise through a translator and came to believe it was a telepathic communication from the dead. And the 3W representative says that there were 3 words that led them to set up institutes to protect the dead and plays them. And the words are very weird. The words are basically, don't cremate me. And that's really weird. Why were the 3 words, don't cremate me? That doesn't make any sense, really. And he says that the only conclusion was that the dead remain conscious and fully aware that everything that happens to them after they die. So that's really interesting, definitely, because, a lot of people have different theories about death. Some people think that death, you basically just forget about everything and, you start over again. And Seb actually says something very interesting to Danny, before. He said to him, and basically talked about how, when you're a baby, you think that you live for 9 months, basically. And, then you come out and you realize you live longer. And then when you die, you think that's it. You think your time is over. However, it turns out, though, that, you basically find out that, no, your life is not over, and you're still in the afterlife. So I think that definitely is very interesting what he said. So basically, Danny feels very cold because they're keeping his body in a cold place, and that's really interesting. That's why he's so cold. And as they're talking, Seb gets a message and tells Danny that he had received a call from Clara on the other side. And I was like, okay, this is about to get amazing. So we hear this beeping noise coming from the scanner, and the doctor insists that the entire concept of afterlife after death is fakery. And Missy is still listening, and gestures to the skeletons, which stand up, and meanwhile, Danny calls Clara on Seb's iPad, but loses contact just after she responds. He loses contact, which was definitely really, really sad. I really felt bad for Danny because of that. And Chan explains that they were scanning Clara telepathically, and they found her match in the nether sphere, and as the doctor warns Clara that the dead don't come back, they stay dead, the skeleton in Chain's tank stands up, and Chain tunes Danny back in, and the doctor tells Chain to come with him to check out the stack, sure that he's missing something, and he tells Clara to ask Danny questions only Danny would know, and to be skeptical and strong, because for all she knows, it might not actually be Danny. So they return to the mausoleum, and just as the skeletons activate their tanks, Missy gestures with a remote, and the doctor tells Chang that his droid has developed a fault. And Chang is shocked because he says that Missy is his boss, and Missy admits that she might have lied just a little. I'm like, what? How is she his boss? She said that she was a droid. So basically, she lied, and she points a remote at Chang, who realizes that she's going to kill him, and I thought this was absolutely huge. This is very, very creepy. The actress that plays Missy, by the way, is absolutely amazing. I love her. She is just such a great actress. So great to have her on the show. And Missy tells him to say something nice, and Shane says it's been a pleasure working with her, and he doesn't believe he can kill him. He doesn't believe she can kill him, and Missy kills him right then and there, and I thought that was just amazing what happened. I was not expecting that at all. That was just so, so intense. I was not expecting that. And just, wow, they killed 2 characters. Seriously, 2 characters in this episode, and that was huge, definitely. And we're only on part 1, so I feel there's more death to come because the finale is called Death in Heaven. So, and that kind of made me feel something, why the finale is called Death in Heaven. Maybe Danny is not actually in heaven. Maybe he's in either hell or purgatory or something like that. I actually think he's in purgatory because he hasn't gotten over killing that boy. And he has so much, boggled up inside of him that he didn't reveal to people. And then he's going to go to heaven. I think that's what's going to happen to Danny. So, Missy takes a moment to recover the tank's vent, and the doctor sees the skeletons with their non-organic material revealed, and realizes that they're Cybermen! Which is huge, because of course Cybermen are a big enemy of theirs. They're worse than Daleks. They're just like Daleks, basically, and I knew that was huge, and I'm like, okay, this is huge what's going on. So meanwhile with Danny and Clara, Clara is not really thinking that this is Danny. She thinks that this is, someone pretending to be Danny. And Danny's swearing that to Clara asks what was the name of the first restaurant that they went to, and he's not answering. And I was like, why is Danny not exactly answering these questions? That's what I want to know, because he's not answering here. And she's asking him some pretty reasonable questions. Like, she's not asking him questions that are really out there. She's just asking him what was the name that they went to, because obviously this was their first date. It was very, very recent. This was not a while ago. This was very recent, and he should know this. So I don't know why he's not answering the questions. So Missy then directs the doctor's engine to the floating sphere and explains that the people inside of it think that they've gone to heaven. So when she says that, I'm like, okay, definitely this is not heaven where they are. So Clara tells Danny to tell her something that only he would know, and all he's just telling her is he loves her, and she's like, I'm gonna hang up if you don't, she says to him, look, I'm gonna hang up if you don't, if you don't respond, if you keep saying that, I'm gonna hang up. And he says it again, she hangs up. And my thinking is that she does not think this is Danny. She thinks that she's basically going crazy. And eventually she's gonna have to realize that, yes, she was talking to Danny, but there definitely is something going on here. I don't exactly know what it is. So the doctor then realizes that the sphere is a matrix data slice from Gallifrey, and Missy says that she uploaded minds into and deleted and edited their emotions while upgrading the bodies, and the doctor wonders how she got hold of Time Lord technology and who she really is, and Missy says that he knows who she is. And I'm like, what? How? Who is she? So he remembers his feeling 2 hearts earlier and realizes that she's actually a Time Lord, which is huge. Because usually the Time Lord's a guy and now it's a girl, and I think that's amazing that they've done this twist. And Missy says that she's the one the doctor abandoned, and the doctor runs out the door. He's obviously very freaked out. He's going to find Clara, but he realizes he's not actually in the TARDIS right now. He's in a London street. So this is huge, because one minute he's in the TARDIS, and the next moment he's in a London street. So I don't know how this happened, but definitely they're going to have to explain how this happened. So Clara demands definite proof, something that only Danny could tell her, as I talked about this, I just said this, basically. And, Clara ends up switching the communication device off, and Danny sits down crying, and Ced brings up an app on his iPad, and I thought this was just an amazing scene what happened here, definitely. He brings up this app on his iPad and said that they have just the thing for moving painful emotions. There's a large delete button. It literally says delete Danny Pink, and Seb leaves to let Danny make his decision. So basically Danny's gonna have to make a choice here. Does he want to delete his entire life, or does he actually want to, have that emotion gone and just confess to people what he's doing? Because I definitely feel he's going to call Clara again. I don't think he's going to press that delete button. I kind of feel like, though, right now, Danny is in a very difficult place with himself because he wants to, but at the same time, he doesn't want to. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see what he does there. And that is an awesome cliffhanger, I gotta say. That is a great cliffhanger. I love that what they're doing with his character. And Danny's so much more interesting now. Like, I have not been a fan of the way they've been handling his character in the past few episodes. We see him once, we don't see him again. He's only there to be with Clara. He's only there to be Clara's boyfriend. And now he actually has a purpose. And I thought that was really good, definitely. So in Chang's office, Clara turns around and sees the now fully revealed Cyberman the tank. She runs to the door, calling the doctor's name. All these Cybermen are, like, outside. They're going crazy. And basically, the doctor's yelling to pedestrians to run, but Missy tells everyone to ignore the frantic Scotsman. She's like, ignore the frantic Scotsman. I'm like, okay, this is weird. So she tells the doctor to stop making a fuss, warning him that it's too late, and the dead outnumber the living. And the doctor asks who she is, and she tells him finally who she truly is. Missy is actually short for mistress because she couldn't keep calling herself the master. And that is huge because the Master apparently we have not seen until since David Tennant's been on the show. I did not see David Tennant, but I looked this up, and basically what the Master does is he distracts the doctor and manipulates the doctor, and then basically tries to take over the world. So now it's the mistress. We have the mistress now because obviously it's a girl, so she can't be the Master anymore, so she's the mistress. and I think this is amazing. I think it's an awesome twist. I can't wait to see what happens. We don't really know what her plan is, and I have no idea what's going to happen in this finale, but it's going to be huge. And the very last scene is we see Danny is contemplating pushing the delete button as the boy stands behind him, and wow, this was such an amazingly well done episode. I love this episode to death. I thought this was by far the best episode of the season. I have so many questions now. First of all, again, what is the mistress's plan? I have no idea what it is. We're definitely gonna have to see what it is. I love that we have a genuine villain this season. I knew that she was not going to be a good character. I knew whatever her, thing was, that she was going to be a character who basically, she did seem like at first that she was going to be a good character, but now I know that she's not going to be, especially in the last episode when she said, okay, this is not working. I kind of think I know what her plan is. Her plan is basically, I think, to take over the world. It's pretty obvious. I think that pretty much is her plan. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's something in the sense of that, definitely. We're going to have to see what happens there. Clara. Clara definitely needs to realize that she is talking to Danny. I don't know what's going on with Clara. I feel really bad for her, definitely. There are some rumors about Jenna Coleman leaving the show, and if she does, I wouldn't be surprised, because she basically just tried to, she almost betrayed the doctor. She tried to betray him. She took him in, she, did that thing to him where she put him into that hallucination, basically, and definitely, that's going to be really bad for her. And then Danny, I don't know if Danny's going to press that delete button. I really hope he doesn't, because I don't think that Seb is going to be trusted. I don't really think Danny's in heaven. Do you guys think Danny might be in purgatory? I feel like he is. I guess we'll have to see what happens there. But that's in my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. I cannot wait for the finale, guys. The finale is going to be amazing, especially because it's an hour and a half. The episode needs to be an hour and a half. There's so much going on. And, I can't wait to find out what's going on. I'm so into Doctor Who now. And honestly, this should have been the entire season. This storyline could have been the entire season. It kind of was, but I felt like definitely they should have introduced this last episode just because of how great this story is. Because now you have this whole mystery now, and I love this. And I really hope they keep this recurring storyline going, because I have wanted them to do this recurring storyline all season long, and finally they're doing it, and I can't wait to see what happens. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be my review for a movie review, because I am watching a movie tomorrow, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.